frequency and vibration, right?
Right.
So every color, just like every music note, has a vibration, and you have that, as you say, like a stamp or like a fingerprint contributed by the stars at the time of your birth, because they're all resonating a different light frequency. And we are made of light as well, right? It's just that we are at such a low frequency, you can't see all the rainbow colors.
I'm Georgia Stathis. I'm a business astrologer, publisher, author, and I'm very, very excited about what's coming up for all of you for free with the upcoming game-changing transits event. We're talking about Saturn's ingress recently into Pisces, Pluto ingress into Aquarius. I'll personally be speaking about the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction. It's research that I've done from a recent book that I wrote. So why don't you join us? Go to astrologyhub.com/game-changing to learn more and register for free admission.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome. I am so happy that you have decided to join us here today for this very, very special edition of the Astrology Hub podcast. For those of you who are new to our channel, welcome. You have just joined a worldwide astrological conversation that is happening here every single week. If you wanted to take a moment just to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell, I think that you'll be very happy you did. You'll get alerted every time a new video is released here on this channel, and you'll get to join in on this conversation with us. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Amanda Poole-Walsh. I am the founder of Astrology Hub, and I am so very honored and thrilled to be here today with a very special guest. She is an inner circle member in our membership at Astrology Hub, and she is so much more. And you're going to get to learn a lot about Liyanne Unasa here today. Liyanne, welcome to the Astrology Hub podcast. I'm so happy you're here.
Oh, God. Thank you, Amanda. Thank you. I'm really happy I'm here too.
And we are starting this series where we're going to be featuring stories from real members of our community so that you can see all the different ways that astrology usually very magically comes into our lives at the very right moment and initiates or supports us through massive transformations in our lives. I know that has certainly been the situation that I went through in my own life and continue to go through. And I'm really, really excited to hear more about Liyanne's story. And Liyanne, let's just start there. I would love to have you paint a picture for us of what life was like for you before astrology came into it as like a major focal point for you.
Oh, gosh. Okay. So before astrology became a focal point, so I've always been interested in astrology from my early 20s, but I never delved into it overly much. And I was pretty much busy, making my way in life. I always knew that I wanted to make a difference in the world. Didn't know how I was going to do that. So I wore all these very different hats, a real kind of corporate go-getter, worked hard and played even harder.
So what happened? You were interested in your 20s. You went into a very non-astrological world. And then what happened in your life that made you go back to it?
Well, what happened is I realize now is my Pluto transit and a cancer diagnosis. So I was diagnosed with breast cancer in March 2015. And the timing from Pluto entering my 12th house is uncanny. I only just realized that like literally within the last 2 weeks. So when I was diagnosed, it's really interesting. The day that I was diagnosed, the immediate thought that came to me was, well, it was, the F word, first of all. And then, obviously there's something I need to learn in this, right? So already I was getting guidance and what I call the embodied astrology getting spoken to.
Were you that kind of a person already? Would you have seen a challenge like that before in your life and thought, oh, there's something for me to learn? Or was this sort of a new thought for you?
I would say I've always been that kind of person. I am a very much a glass half full kind of person. And approaching a cancer diagnosis, it was no different for me. And also wanting to research the hell out of it, because until you get cancer, you know zero about it. And then I reframed the word itself the day after I was diagnosed. And cancer for me is creating a new, clear energy reality. And that's pretty much what I've been doing ever since. And I've recently realized it's not just for me that I'm going to be doing that, but a much wider influence than just my own world. Yeah.
Okay. So you get the diagnosis, you have this thought, what is there for me to learn? Where does astrology come in?
So I went full tilt into looking at my lifestyle and diet. I also decided to go the complete natural route. So I live with cancer. I say that I live with cancer. I still have a tumor in my breast and I'm still here and alive nearly 8 years later. So I live with it naturally. So a lot of what I do day to day is about keeping myself alive and working with my body's rhythms, right? However, as most people will know, there's even a saying, you need to heal the soul first and then everything else follows. And I don't know about everyone else. I'm thinking, okay, but how do I do that? How do I do that? And I started tuning in. So I did all of the emotional lifestyle diet. And then finally in 2019, I started following a couple of online astrologers in their regular forecasts and doing some, little mini courses with them and looking at my own chart. And that's really what started delving me into astrology, because at the end of the day, astrology is a language of the soul. There are many languages of the soul, and astrology is one of them. So it was helping me to understand, well, how do I heal my soul?
Okay. I have so many questions on that. Because yes, I do think that you hear these things. For example, it's energetic before it becomes physical or manifest, right? So we know that something's happening energetically or in the unseen realm before we actually experience here. So I get that astrology probably helped you tune into your own natural rhythms, which is, and I'm putting words in your mouth. You didn't say that, but I'm guessing that, and you can confirm or deny that. And then how did it help you get to a point where you're feeling like you're healing your soul, like healing at that soul level?
Okay, so I'm going to go through a whole raft of, and this is specifically from when I joined Astrology Hub, because Astrology Hub is bringing together a whole range of astrologers and astrological disciplines that contain different pieces of the puzzle for me. So it started with Rick Levine and his chart reading extravaganza, which I signed up for and discovered the metaphysical aspect in my own chart, of which I have an abundance. However, having come across human design also through Astrology Hub, because, it's not just astrology that you discover through Astrology Hub, it's all these other soul languages and disciplines like human design. And my soul really whispers quietly to me. So I went through most of life not really trusting it because it was so subtle. So now I understand why it was so subtle, because all those, quintiles, septiles, all those, metaphysical aspects, they're not loud. And my physical aspects in my chart, the physical world aspects, I should say, are very loud. I have, a lot of oppositions on my nodal axis, right? So that kind of drowned out this more subtle metaphysical. So that was the beginning, Rick, actually exposing me to, it's like, oh, these aspects. Okay, I want to know more. Then came Anne Ortley with her Asteroid Goddesses class, which is like, oh my gosh, these are bridges to actually getting to speak to the planets. Because for me, the asteroids really have become a bridge, like a communication bridge to being able to get the messages from the planets. Then there was Andrea Michelle with the elucidation charts for the asteroids themselves. And because I have a specific placement with Pele, the volcano goddess fire, I have a specific relationship with her in my chart. So Andrea was able to help me with that. And I do feel Pele is a real presence for me. And having to understand and work with that energy is something that it's a gift and a big learning. And then there was Divine Harmony came with her Sirius Masterclass. And she mentioned this book called Bowl of Light. And as soon as she mentioned it, I'm like, whoa, what's that? And even before she'd finished the class, I'd bought the book on Amazon, right? She was still delivering the class and I'd already put my order in and it was on its way. So that gave me another layer to what I'm calling my light work. Because going back to even before Astrology Hub, I was really drawn to the aspect patterns in my own chart. They're really soul patterns, aren't they? And they're our own sacred geometry when you look at them. And I decided, because like with everything, I decided, I want to visualize that for myself. I'm not sure what all of this, blue, red, green, and all the other colors they use. And I thought, I actually want to do it in the color of the planets, right? So I did my first iteration of what I now call Star Soul Light. I drew the aspects in the colors of the planets. So let's say from Mars to Saturn was red to green instead of a whole, let's say a red line for a opposition. Instead of being a red line, it became a red to green because it's Mars to Saturn, for example. So I'd already done that, and the Bowl of Light added another layer to that work that I'd done because I was pretty much following the really faint whispers and creating this like system without understanding it fully. So I was following along and being the channel, but not really understanding what it was. And that Bowl of Light just blew my mind and my world. And I actually did a much deeper, more resonant and more theoretically sound system. So then we had magic coming into it with Gary Caton and his planetary hours. And I actually started tuning into planetary hours so much so that I was getting mixed up with what day it was, right? because I was following the light rather than the calendar.
Wow.
Right.
Amazing. I love that.
Yeah. And then we had Jen's art. And she did a great thing where she talked about discovering the good daemon name or the good demon name in your chart. And that was like, wow, this is so cool. And I used the Futhark, which is the runic alphabet, to figure out my runic because I have Celtic roots in my mum's side. My mum's English. So I did it in the Futhark, which is really, really, really interesting. A way to connect with that alphabet. And then full circle, we've now come to Foundations 3 with Rick Levine again. And I've been waiting so long for this masterclass, and I've just eaten up the content like you wouldn't believe. And everything that he's gone through in that class has just confirmed for me. Because a lot of astrology is really confirming things I feel, but don't necessarily trust. Like my artistic, I have an exalted Venus, so she's at 27 degrees Pisces. And I never really trusted my artistic ability. And now I've got full trust in it because my chart, because there's always like, three, what's the word? Signs that you've got this in your chart, right? So it's not
like
just
three placements really confirm a certain energetic pattern.
Correct.
Yeah? Okay.
Correct. Yeah. And then, so his Foundations 3 classes really confirmed for me that what I've been given as a creation, the star soul light, has come in from beyond. Because I've always felt that. I've always said, this is a co-creation with the universe. It's not from me, it's through me. Yes, I'm adding my thing in with it, but it's not just me that's created this. So, yeah.
I love this so much. So, and I have, again, a ton of questions.
More questions?
Yes, of course, because basically what you're describing is that when you came in, first of all, I'm very honored that we have been such a big part of your path and that these different courses and different teachers have given you all pieces to the puzzle. I mean, that was definitely part of the design from the beginning, but then to hear it, like how it actually is manifesting in your life is a whole nother level for me. So thank you for sharing all of that amazing detail. So you have this breast cancer diagnosis. You start to be guided that there's some learning here. You somehow stumble upon Astrology Hub, which is fantastic. And then you join the inner circle and you start to like get pieces and learning from different astrologers. How has that helped you with the original like impetus to dive deeper into astrology? Like what lessons have you learned that have helped carry you through the breast cancer diagnosis, feel confident enough to go a natural route? I'm sure there was a lot of other opinions about how you should handle this for yourself. So how did it help you with that?
So I joined Astrology Hub in 2021. Well, I actually did my first course before I'd even joined the inner circle, right? And my diagnosis was in 2015. So it's, quite some time before. And so, like I said, I first concentrated on the emotional, the lifestyle, and the diet. And it wasn't until 2019 that I started to really go into the esoteric realms to try and understand, okay, it's time to do some soul growth work. And, in all honesty, doing a lot of shadow work. And I would say that that's where Astrology Hub and having access to all the different disciplines and varieties has cemented what I had already gone through. It's almost like it's a confirmation of the path I'd chosen to go down, that I chose to go the natural route, and that in fact was the correct route to go, because then, well, this is it really. When I first put together my soul light, my star soul light for myself, because, you always start with yourself first, I felt a tangible shift in my tumor from the very first time I created it and started using it in earnest. Now, I'm not saying that it is a healing in of itself, but it does act as a doorway and opening a portal to your own innate healing light codes, not just healing light codes, but, your soul light codes. So, and healing is part of that.
So what Liyanne is referring to when she's talking about the soul colors and the the art that she has been inspired to create, which I've actually had the pleasure of experiencing, is one of the things you might know if you've been in the Astrology Hub community for some time is we talk a lot about how the chart is musical. Like there is actual hum, there is actual resonance that could be heard. We can't hear it because it's at a frequency that we can't hear with our ears. But what Liyanne's done, which is amazing, is actually also brought in the colors of your soul, so to speak. At one point, we did Soul Songs, which was an amazing co-creation between Gemini Brett and Eric Deutsch, which was, again, taking your astrological chart and creating music out of it. So you could hear the song of your soul. And what Liyanne's done is taken the chart and, again, made it into artwork and correlated the aspects and the planets with colors so that you can see the pattern of your soul. So, I mean, basically what you've described is this path to finding does this feel like your life's work? Like, does this feel like one of the things you've been placed on the planet to do, part of your mission?
It totally 150%, Amanda. I'll share an interesting story with you when I talk about, embodied astrology. So I was there because I use my soul lights as like a meditation, and I was there doing my soul light meditation, and I had this thought pop in my head, as it does, and it was, okay, so how am I going to get this out to the world? Because I believe it's a self-love and self-healing tool that is really required in the world right now, especially for our young people. And it suddenly occurred to me, no, you are not, because I was thinking, it'd be really cool if I could get this all automated and people can do it at the click of a button and blah, blah, blah. And it was like, no, what you need to do is start a light school and teach people how to create these. So you have a whole load of, star soul light artists. And I thought, oh yeah. And as soon as that landed as a message, I'm here in New Zealand, living in Blenheim, which is the top of the South Island. And we had a 5.1 quake hit at that exact moment. So literally, and only 17 kilometers from where I am. So that's close. You'll know, Amanda, living in Hawaii, you have earthquakes movements all the time. But this was like, you could say it was pretty much going bang right on top of me, right? And the earth literally moved beneath me. And I'm like, okay, I got the message.
Oh God, I love when it's that clear. That's the best. It's like, there's no question mark about that. Amazing. Oh my God. Okay, so I have some more questions for you, Liyanne.
Yes.
How do you deal with overwhelm? Like, as a student of astrology, one of the things we hear a lot is that it can be so overwhelming. How have you sort of waded through those waters? And what would you say to other people who are experiencing that?
I would say that what is for you will call to you. So, there's been at least 3 months, I call them months instead of months. There's been at least 3 months where I haven't, engaged with the new moon ceremony or the full moon or the masterclass. And that's because there were other things that were occupying my time. And I could have got stressed about that because I'm thinking, oh no, I've missed out. But I haven't missed out. It's just not for me at that time. And the great thing is that I know that I can go back and actually revisit those teachings if and when I feel called to. So in terms of overwhelm, it's like, well, you'll always find time and be drawn to the things that are meant for you. And I've just found that over and over again. And just to relax and give yourself a break and just go with the flow, really.
So you trust that the information you need when you need it will be there. when you don't have time, that it's okay, that when you do have time again, you will come back. And if you need to, of course, everything we do is recorded, so you'll be able to come back at your convenience. Okay. So what I hear there is a lot of trust and receptivity. It's something that I talk to our inner circle members about quite a bit. It's like there is a huge amount of trust in the process that as you continue with your studies, you will learn what you need to learn when you need to learn it. And if you're not getting something at that time, it's because you're not ready for that thing at the time and you don't need it. It's okay. Like you don't have to, it's not like school where we're studying for a test and all these things are going to be on the test. And if you don't get it, you're going to fail. It's like, no, you're getting exactly what you need to get when you need to get it.
Well, I liken it to, bringing it back into the mundane world, I liken it to, there was a very sophisticated planning software called Primavera that I used for, multi-line activity schedules to actually deliver a project. And that piece of software was so complex. And the reason it's complex is because it had 12 different ways of doing the same thing. And I liken astrology to that, is you have many different paths that will lead you to the same, I guess, realization or revelation for you. And it's all about, the path that is the most natural one for you will be the one that you follow. Like for me, obviously, aspect patterns is like my jam, it just speaks to me. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and have you also experienced a shift? Like you're interested in things you didn't maybe even know existed before, and B, your fascination with things kind of shifts with time depending on where you're at in your life. Have you experienced that?
Completely. It's like, I gave an example before, human design. I didn't even realize it existed. And then more recently, Enneagrams, which I hadn't heard of before either. Mm-hmm. I knew about Myers-Briggs, personality types. And in fact, I've worked with that with teams. But these other two I hadn't come across before. And I also am drawn to, and it is connected, to astrology. So, my ethnic background is Samoan English. So Samoa is one of the small Pacific islands in the South Pacific. And, we're well known for being star navigators. Moana is a great film for showing that. And I love that her relationship is with the ocean rather than with a, prince or whatever, and also her family. So anyway, because that is all about the relationship with the natural world and also with the celestial world. So it really is embodying that as above, so below. And the correlation between the two was something that has been sparked within me, is to understand, it's almost like with the aspect pattern work, or what I would say are soul patterns, they're really star patterns, aren't they? Because they come from the map of the stars, which we also call the map of the soul. So it's like I'm a different incarnation of a star navigator of my ancestral lineage. So to answer your question, it does ignite interest in many different interrelated, although sometimes when you look at them, you don't realize they're interrelated. And I'm slowly but surely cogniting that that is the case. Sorry for me being so slow.
Man, yeah, exactly. We've been doing that celestial navigation course with the kids. It's not a course; it's like an experience with our little homeschool community. And I've had so many of the same realizations that literally what we're doing, even though we're not out on the ocean paddling right now and finding new islands, but we are using the stars as a navigation system to our life. I mean, it's what we're using as the compass. And so it is still celestial navigation, just in a different form. But it's
exactly
the same thing.
that.
Yes.
Yeah. And my body's going tingle, tingle right now because it's like, yes, it's 100%. And because also we are bodies of water. So it's like we're navigating our own ocean.
Oh, gosh, that's next level. I love that.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Liyanne, how about the community? Part of the circle membership, part of the membership that we have created so intentionally is the community aspect, because so many people studying astrology feel alone. It's like, God, I live in a place where I can't share this love. I can't share this passion. Nobody speaks the language. So how is that and for you, the community aspect?
I'm so glad you brought that up because that's major. It's major. I'm a member of 3 other communities that are what I would say soul-led and like-minded. The difference with the inner circle is, and this is, I'm sure, down to you, Amanda, and your intention, is to create family, right? So it feels like it's got a real family vibe, and people are very heart-led. So, you can be soul-led and like-minded, but there is a definite difference between that and also having your heart lead. So that for me is a huge difference. And as a result of that, I'm in 2 little, I don't want to call them splinter, doesn't sound like the right word because that sounds like a bad thing. So I'm in 2 mini ohanas from within the inner circle. One is a soul song group where we've been exploring our charts through choosing songs for each planet and placement. And we've just finished, we're just about to finish with the Kuiper belt objects. And because we've become so close and developed such an authentic connection, we just are finding, reasons to keep going. So we are now going to do like a Deccan walk for the next year. Separate to that is a Pluto exploration group, which I hold the space for that. And that was like 6 of us in total. And we've been going through lots of Pluto stuff, me with Pluto in my 12th and not about to leave anytime soon. With the Placidus house system, it's been really invaluable and essential. And that group is even deeper than the first group. And Amanda, I've made friends for life. I meet with these groups of women pretty much every week or every 2 weeks. And we deep soul dive every session. And that's a massive thing to get from the community. And then there are other people in the community that I, am on in Mighty Networks regularly, Melinda, there's a number of Donnas, I can name them all because we're like in regular community, Eileen,
And you've never met them in person yet?
No.
You are my dream come true. There's a phase 2 to dream come true. Phase 1 is let's use the technology to find our soul family, our star family is what it really is. Let's find our star family. Let's put out a call, essentially. And sometimes I think about like being on this volcano in Hawaii and like just putting the call out across the globe. Like, hey, who's out there who wants to join us in this amazing celestial navigation, this amazing exploration of our souls as reflected by the stars? Like, wow, let's do that together, right?
Yeah.
And then to find each other that way, phase 2, this is still my deep prayer, is that we all get together in person someday. And I know that it's happening with different members of the community. I love when I get pictures of people from the community who have met in person. And it's like, oh, yeah, you're together in person. This is brilliant. But the fact that we can use the technology to really find the resonant frequency that we're carrying, and to have those deep connections that are facilitated across the entire globe. It's amazing. So you are literally like in manifest form So thank you for that. And thank you for sharing your story. I mean, you all may think, oh, she probably knew all this before they even did this interview. And I did not. Basically, we put a call out to Inner Circle members and said, do you have a story to share? Has astrology, has your membership, has, the course, has anything that we've done and or astrology in general changed your life? And have you gone through any big game-changing transits that have changed your life that you want to share about? And Liyanne was one of many, many people who responded and said, yes, it has changed my life. And I would love to share my story. And it was like, awesome. We want to hear it. So thank you so much, Liyanne. I have a couple more questions. For people who are like, I would love to do something like this, but I don't have enough time. I'm a mom. I'm working all the time. I'm, whatever it is. What do you say, like realistically, how much time does someone need to invest in order for it to be meaningful or valuable for them, in your opinion?
In my opinion, I would say maybe a good 3 hours a week. And I would caveat that with, it's never about enough time. It is always about priority. And that 3 hours is actually prioritizing yourself, because it's actually a journey of self-realization that you're going on with astrology, even though it may not seem that way to begin with. But that's definitely what it's about. It's about investing in yourself and your own growth and trying to understand, if you've ever had a question of, wow, what's it all about and what are we doing here? Astrology is a fantastic place to start, because, it's our blueprint, and it's almost like our cheat code. Doesn't sound right, but you get what I mean. It's like we've already got it there in front of us, and we can maximize that potential if we choose to.
I love what you just said there, Liyanne, about that 3 hours really being prioritizing yourself. And, I think that's just challenging for so many of us to do, is really give ourselves the permission to make ourselves a priority. And yet, even just tuning into Julia Balaz's full moon forecast, I actually joined you all as a student yesterday for the live broadcast. And I was reminded again at how many answers are contained within just one very well done, powerfully delivered forecast event or mastery class. And I mean, I literally have a whiteboard with like my little one-liners that I took away from it, because the universe is always speaking to us. It's always speaking to us. And astrology gives a very direct language. Like, yes, we could read the wind and we could get answers in that. We could look at a flower and get answers there. All of it is valid and it all works. And yet there's something so magical about that language of light that just speaks right directly to our soul in such a pointed way. And especially when we're asking the questions, especially when we're holding the questions. And I'm speaking, but I would love to hear your reflection on that.
Well, I realized recently that I'm a light weaver. That is effectively what I'm doing with, pulling the patterns from the chart and weaving them in light, because color is, after all, it's the way we process light here on earth, right? Through the prism. It's a prism of light through our eyes. I always talk about a rainbow. I liken it to a rainbow, because rainbow makes visible through moisture in the air, this whole range of color. And when you think about the fact that we're also bodies of water, we're also full of rainbow light, right? In different patterns. So I'm pulling those patterns out and weaving them in light. And I wanted to give an invitation for people, because strange as it may sound, Amanda, I pulled out your pattern for you and did that as a weaving of light, right? And it's not only an energetic talisman, a moving piece that you can use as a meditation tool, but it's also a custom piece of artwork if you choose to get it printed. It's like a canvas. Be there like in an art gallery and pondering, the pattern of your soul. So yes, I have only just recently pulled out my own strongest pattern, thanks to Rick with his Foundations 3, because I didn't realize that actually the one I thought was my strongest pattern wasn't. It was one of the metaphysical ones. So I'm about to start a journey from around the new moon. And I'm calling it a journey of sound and vision because I like things to be fun. And that it's bringing together the soul song group experience and the soul light. So people can choose to join me. I'll, be available people can contact me, people that are in the inner circle. They can contact me in there because I'm going to bring together songs. So discover the meaning behind the pattern through song. And for those, soul songsters from that group, we've been together almost a year now. For them, I'm going to be, challenging them to actually do like a mashup of their soul songs. Because, in a pattern, you'll probably have 3 planets or points involved in it, right? Or you may have more, some people have a conjunction in there. So they have, 4 planets in there. So it's a song for each planet and then create a mashup. And I'm going to meet, hold space for people for 4 weeks from new moon to new moon to uncover their strongest soul pattern, having woven the light for them first. And then we go on that journey together. So I haven't delved into my own on purpose because I want to do it with a bunch of other people. And I'm thinking around about 15 people. So I wanted to put that invitation out there for people in the inner circle or anyone that's wanting to join the inner circle. And I'm offering it at, much, much lower than I'm going to be putting this work out to the world because it is like custom soul artwork.
Amazing.
So yeah.
Amazing. Thank you, Liyanne. I don't know if you noticed, you said rainbow.
Yes.
And I literally almost jumped out of my seat because
Yes.
I have been holding this question about the rainbow specifically and wondering if when we see a rainbow, the colors that are always there are just revealed to us.
That's exactly right.
And then I was, so this has all been happening for me, Liyanne, and you're just answering the question right after I said, especially when you ask the questions, you literally answered the question. Because each planet is associated with a color.
Correct.
In my children have done a lot of the Waldorf education, and Rudolf Steiner, when you're in kindergarten, they each child's birthday, they do this little play about the soul in heaven, quote unquote, and how it decides to incarnate and how the soul then comes down the rainbow bridge and is born. And I was thinking, if each planet is associated with a color, and there's these rainbows all around us all the time, and the planets are associated with the rainbow colors, the rainbow bridge is technically a real thing, which is amazing. But it also is describing the process of how we are almost like stamped with different portions of the planets or different quantities, almost as if we were like a recipe of the different energetic properties of those planets as we incarnate into this body, right?
Right, 100%. That's exactly what my work is. Bringing those colors. So I use the colors that Pythagoras, music of the spheres. So he not only attributed the planets to notes, musical notes, he also attributed them to colors. And those are the colors that I use in my work. And I also have woven in the 369 vibration by Nikola Tesla
Yes.
So, he has that quote where he says, if you want to know the secret of the universe, think in energy, frequency, and vibration, right?
Right.
So every color, just like every music note, has a vibration. And you have that, as you say, like a stamp or like a fingerprint, like a soul fingerprint, contributed to by the stars at the time of your birth, because they're all resonating a different light frequency. And we are made of light as well, right? It's just that we are at such a low frequency, you can't see all the rainbow colors.
I mean, this is the thing about astrology for me, is it's like, you think you're coming in to, people get drawn to astrology for a lot of different reasons, right? They start dating someone and they want to see if they're compatible, or they are interested in their personality, or they're going through a really challenging time in life and they want to just have some clarity or guidance. But what ends up so all of that happens, you get answers to those kinds of questions. And then you realize that this is literally the code underlying the entire reality that we're experiencing here. And it's more and more magical the more and more you're exposed to it and begin to have those aha moments for yourself. And so, Liyanne, I just want to thank you. You've given me so many of those moments here today. And I was thinking we were just going to talk about your journey, but I've definitely gotten some amazing clarity. And
can I quickly show you an example of what I'm talking about? Because
yes.
I'm talking about the star soul light. So this is playing on my phone. So this is an example of a pattern, one pattern that I have painted in light. And this is the energetic talisman, which it's much more effective on a laptop screen or as big a screen as you can manage. So yeah, it's basically, it's really difficult to explain, but it's like, it's because the language of light doesn't need words. So it is, when it's yours, you are automatically tuning in and resonating and attracted to it because it's humming your soul song and light to you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. Liyanne, thank you for coming and sharing your story. And I just want to say to anybody out there that feels like you would be interested in at least learning more about this star family that we have. And if you're interested in connecting to people like Liyanne, who are also asking these questions and looking for that deeper level of purpose and using astrology as a guiding light. And actually, I love that through Astrology Hub and the Inner Circle and all the different teachers that we feature, you've found your life path. I mean, you've made a huge change from what you were doing before in the corporate world. And now you're creating art and feeling confirmed in that urge to create art because of your chart, because of the aspects in your chart that are saying, yes, you're an artist. This is what you're here to do. So now it's like, okay, permission granted. And sometimes that's all we need is just the permission to go in the direction of our soul's calling. So I am just grateful, Liyanne, that you have said yes to yours. Super grateful that you have come here and shared that with all of us here today. And for any of you that are interested in joining the Inner Circle, we are going to be opening enrollment in just a few weeks. So you can get on the wait list. And if you're on the wait list, you'll be one of the first to know when we open. It's astrologyhub.com/IC23, I as in inner and C as in circle, 23, the number. So get on the wait list, but also you're invited to join our live event that is completely free. It's going to be featuring the next 12 astrologers that we're going to have as Inner Circle astrologer guides. And it's called Game Changing Transits. And in it, we're going to be exploring those fateful moments. So Liyanne talked about Pluto entering her 12th house. We all have these fateful moments that are literally written in the stars. They're written in our charts. And the more you can anticipate them before they even come, the more accurate you can be in interpreting their invitation. And the more you understand what they're calling you to. what they're calling you up for, the more you can turn these fateful moments into moments of destiny. And so we are going to be featuring the 12 astrologers. We're going to be talking about collective game-changing transits, which are those ones that all of us humans go through together. They're global transits, right? We went through a bunch of them in 2020 and in 2021, and we're going through some right now. So we're going to be covering those. And then that's going to be day one. Day two is going to be focused on the personal game-changing transits. So those personal moments we all go through in a lifetime, things like the Saturn returns. I'm giving the S, it's not just one Saturn return, the Uranus opposition, and then some of these other really significant Pluto transits. Maybe you'll have them in your life and maybe you won't. What we have found is that most people that are in the inner circle and, or at least in the Astrology Hub community, they have some Pluto energy that they're going to be dealing with in their lifetime. Not everybody does. To me, it feels like a great honor, actually, that we've put Pluto on our dance card and that there's a deep transformation that we have decided before we even came here to experience in this lifetime. So we're going to be exploring all these things. Again, that event is free. It's a great way to get a taste of the type of conversation we're having in the inner circle, the type of teachers that we feature in the inner circle, and you'll get to also feel the community vibe that we have created in the inner circle. So you're invited to that too. That's astrologyhub.com/change. astrologyhub.com/change. You'll get all the details, the dates. Don't worry if you can't make it live because it's recorded and anyone who registers will get to join us for that. Liyanne, thank you. You're brilliant. You're beautiful. I'm so honored to know you and I'm just blessed to have been a part of your path in any way. Thank you. All right, everybody. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being a part of our community. And thank you, as always, for making astrology a part of your life. Every now and then, there's a planetary alignment that changes everything. We call these game changers because they're fateful moments when one phase of life ends and another one begins. I know for me, my Saturn return was definitely one of those moments. And we all rode the life-changing transits of 2020 and 2021 together. At Astrology Hub, we've found that the more you can anticipate, interpret correctly, and prepare for these moments, the more you can turn something that feels like it's happening to you into something that's happening for you. And we have some big game-changing transits that we will be experiencing this year. To learn about these big collective transits and the personal life-changing transits that we all go through, we're gathering our 12 upcoming Inner Circle Astrologer Guides for a free live panel event. You'll hear from Sam Reynolds, Georgia Stathis, Gemini Brett, R.A. Moshe, and more. Day one, we'll go deep into collective transits like Saturn's move into Pisces and Pluto's move into Aquarius and how these could impact the world. Day two, we'll explore life-changing personal transits like the infamous Saturn return, Uranus oppositions, aka the midlife crisis, and more. If you're interested in joining us, go to astrologyhub.com/change and reserve your free spot now. That's astrologyhub.com/change. We can't wait to see you soon.